First, though, is Keir Starmer's plan to tackle Channel migrants working. We're taking your calls 0207 7862 2222. On Saturday, 9 boats were intercepted, 9 carrying 572 people who were trying to cross the Channel. You can see then this story in The Independent. This is actually quite an anti-Labour story in a way, which is unusual for them. Smash the gangs won't work. Verdict from Home Office officials on Labour small boats plan. So that was what we were told during the election, that Labour would get in and smash the gangs. It hasn't happened. It may never happen. And The Independent say civil servants are warning nobody understands how they're even trying to do it. There's a thing called Border Security Command. Nobody knows how that's working. Officials are not overwhelmed, underwhelmed, apparently, by the strategy because they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And this year, we've had 32,691 migrants arrive by boats in the UK, and that's a 22% increase on last year. It is not working, Jemma, whatever it was.
Well, firstly, I think whatever they are doing needs a chance to bed in before we decide the numbers, whether they've been affected or not. We don't know yet. But it probably won't work. And the reason being, until a government does the right thing, which is to restore safe and legal routes, you won't stop the boats. You just will not.
You won't stop them anyway for people who are turned down. So if you're turned down from a safe application where you make in Kabul or something, if that's possible, you'll take a boat.
Well, OK, here's my understanding for why that would work. So how many boats have arrived this year, or how many people? Thousands, yeah?
32,000.
Thousands.
32,000.
How many people do you think arrived by boat July 2014 to June 2016?
No idea.
9 people. 9.
9?
9. And 16...
Oh, I see, you're talking about the EU here. Right, OK. You've been going back into the EU...
9 people came across in boats to the UK. Mm-hmm. 9 people.
Well, 572 people came... On Saturday.
So. Yeah, exactly.
So Gemma's point is...
What is different? We had...
Well, spell it out, because people might not understand what you're saying.
It's a consequence of blooming Brexit. It is, because we now don't have a returns agreement with the EU. And we had that before, and it didn't happen. So if you want to stop the boats, we need to go back to something sensible and stop this vile rhetoric.
We had an agreement with... I don't think it's vile rhetoric, Jemma. I think most people in this country are concerned about the fact that there are people coming to this country illegally that we have no idea what their background is. Now, of course, there are people that are saying this because they are genuinely bigoted, but I think that the majority of people in this country that are concerned about illegal immigration are not doing so because they listen to vile rhetoric or they are upset because there are people that look different to us that are coming here. Most people are worried that there are hotel rooms that are being stacked full of people, young men, and they have absolutely no idea what their criminal background is, who they are. There was a hotel recently up in the north, right next to an all-girls school, and it's full of young
But I'm not
men.
sitting here saying that any of that is okay. I completely agree. It's absolutely ridiculous spending millions and millions and millions. And it is an absolute direct consequence of terrible government.
Well, hang on. There were lots of people clinging onto the underside of lorries between 2014 and 2016. So Brexit didn't stop that.
16 people, I think, came on the back of a lorry. But
No, that's not right.
All right. But the reason people come over isn't going to change. So they might have experienced police brutality on the mainland in France. They might have direct links to the UK. They might think they're safer here because they helped in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they mistakenly think that we are going to look after them when we should. That is our duty. And so actually just restore legal and safe routes, and then you can process people
we can't
in a
even look after
civilised
ourselves.
way. But it doesn't matter. We have a duty of care to some people to come here.
So
if you look at how many people have crossed in boats in other parts of the world compared to here even, it's astronomical. But the other thing is climate change.
All right. Well, Reem, you don't think we should take anyone, or what?
No, I don't think that at all. I think that ultimately... I think Jemma is right in that safe and legal routes are an option. And I am very liberal on immigration. I think that we absolutely should allow people to come to this country legally if they are economic migrants. And let's be honest, many of these people are coming to this country because Britain is a wealthier and nicer place to live. So I think that's wonderful. We should be proud of this country, that it is so attractive to so many people. But if these people are coming because they are economic migrants, we should encourage them to go through the existing safe and legal routes. And as Jemma said,
But Jemma says there aren't any.
There are safe and legal for rich people to come here.
But if you're coming from Afghanistan, how do you apply?
So that there are currently, so for Afghanistan and for some people from Ukraine and for some parts of Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, Ukraine are different, yeah.
They and Afghanistan are
They're
different.
not on boats.
They all have safe and legal
All right,
routes.
Syria then.
People from, well, this is the thing. It's very, very difficult to figure out who those particular people are and whether or not they actually are claiming asylum. Now, in this country, they come here, they're able to wait when they're in limbo. They're waiting to see if their asylum application is going to be accepted. Whilst they are waiting, they are in these hotel rooms. They are being put up and paid for by taxpayers. So I am in favour of those people being allowed to work because ultimately they end up working anyway illegally in the gig economy. They deliver your takeaways. But I think the fundamental point here is that we have to have these conversations without jumping to the vile rhetoric.
Okay. Let's go to Michael in Dover. Hi, what do you think Labour have got a plan here or not?
They never had a plan. It was never going to work from the moment Keir Starmer announced it. It's based on the same principle used to tackle the drug barons and drug dealers that have gone on for decades and has failed, because as soon as you arrest them, someone else takes their place. And the same thing will happen with people traffickers. They would claim some success insofar as they confiscated a number of inflatable boats the other week. But all that's done is put greater pressure on migrants coming across the channel, because there's the same number of migrants, if not more, wanting to get on fewer boats, which is why you've had such an increase in the number of deaths in the channel.
Yeah, I noticed that I was just going to say, Michael, there was a report, somebody found one of the gang leaders in Essen in Germany and pointed out that nothing they were doing was illegal, because you are allowed to offer people trips on a dinghy if you want. So you may not even be able to get them under existing laws.
It's crazy. What they need to do is have a pragmatic approach, and they need to have centres in North Africa where they can register migrants, process them for political asylum. If they're accepted, fly them over to the UK. If not, they're not granted political asylum, and therefore they remain where they are or apply to other countries.
The problem with Gemma's idea is that if they're not granted asylum, they'll go and take a boat anyway, won't they? That's the whole point.
But, okay, if you allow me to just expand on that, as far as I'm concerned, the EU need to change the Dublin Treaty to start with, but that's another story. But all migrants should be required to register as soon as they enter the EU. All EU countries should be legally bound to register migrants entering the EU.
Okay.
At the moment they enter.
I mean, this is maybe Gemma's right here. We're not in the EU. That's the biggest single issue we've got. We've got no leverage, and we've got reverse leverage, because every time something annoys us, they encourage it.
Well, this is the thing. I think that the European Union is safe. France is a safe country. And so as far as I'm concerned, nobody should be leaving France and claiming asylum in the United Kingdom.
Look, you weren't born yesterday.
It
You know perfectly well what happens is that it's in the interest of the French for them to come here.
Oh, completely, because they don't want to deal with it themselves.
Well, it also makes us regret Brexit.
I don't think it makes us regret Brexit. I think it means that we want to be having those negotiations more properly. It worked with Albania. A quarter of illegal migrants that came, I think it was last year or the year before, a quarter of them were from Albania. We sent them back and we had a deal. So it's not about being in the European Union. It's about the countries actually being able to negotiate with one another. I blame Macron.
You blame Macron? Yeah, well, I mean, he wants us to regret leaving the EU, there's no question. After the break, we're taking more calls on this. Is Keir Starmer's plan to tackle...
always blame someone else.
Is Keir Starmer's plan to smash the gangs, even working with 570-odd people on one day at the weekend alone? Now, your calls on this. Is Starmer's plan to tackle channel migrants working? We've thrown around this headline, and it's interesting, isn't it? The Independent saying, yeah, this smash the gangs thing, it's not going to take. It's just crashed on takeoff. Brenda in Surrey, hi.
Good morning.
Did you believe smash the gangs when Keir Starmer said it?
I don't believe anything the Labour Party say, so I don't believe that either.
Yeah, well, is he... I don't know whether he's got a plan. That's the one thing. No?
I've got a plan for everything, anything. Nothing thought out, knee-jerk.
Well, what do you think they should do then?
the way that we can do this is not going to be good for people, but we've got to come out of the European Human Rights Bill.
Oh, that as well. OK. Because the other alternative is we could go back into the EU to try and ask them to help us.
Don't be daft. They want them out of their countries.
Yeah, but I don't know. What do you think? Yeah.
No, well, Brenda, what do you think about the ECHR specifically? Why will that then result in us being able to stop the votes?
Then you've seen these people. They always talk about, it's our human rights. We can't go back. It's our human rights. And because we haven't got our own Bill of Human Rights, we are tied to the EU in this. So one of the things that wasn't sorted out for Brexit, they will, if we had our own, then we make the rules, not the EU.
So it is separate from the EU, so I always have to make that correction. It is located in Strasbourg, but it doesn't mean it's part of the EU. But what do you think, Jemma? You tell Brenda why you think she's wrong.
I think human rights are really important, but also I don't think leaving the ECHR would do anything to stop the votes, Brenda, I'm afraid.
Important, but it's used in the right context.
So what do you think about the fact that there were literally 9 people coming over in boats prior to Brexit?
Because they hadn't got their act together then, but they've certainly got their act together now. These people are laughing at us, absolutely laughing at us, these gangs.
I think Brenda's right in that causation isn't necessarily correlation, right? You can't necessarily say, oh, we left the European Union and so therefore that we've seen an increase in migrants. There are a whole host of factors.
Correlation is not causation.
Yeah, sorry, correlation is not causation. Thank you, Jeremy. it's you can't necessarily say that those two things are correlated, is what I'm saying. I think what's interesting is this leaving the ECHR question was huge within the Conservative Party. Robert Jenrick, one of the final 2 of during the Conservative Party leadership elections, said he would leave the ECHR. And of course, one of the problems with the Rwanda plan was that the European Convention on Human Rights did mean that we weren't able to get it through.
We've seen from the whole Trump thing that electorates are really volatile now. They can turf you out after a term. They've dispensed with Biden and Kamala and whatnot, and they could get rid of Labour in 4 years. There's no question. It doesn't matter how big your majority. If I was them, I would be really thinking we need to get our heads together on this. Charlotte in County Durham, do you think they've got an idea of what they're doing?
No, I don't think so. I don't know whether Starmer has a plan or not, but the man is completely ineffectual and weak, and he says he's going to smash the gangs. He couldn't smash a paper bag.
What did the Conservatives do to solve anything?
I'm not. Look, I've got no skin in the game. I'm not a Labour supporter, and I'm not a Conservative supporter.
Well, you're a voter. We've all got skin in the game. Come on, Charlotte. We've all got to have a view on this. It's about future of our country.
I have never voted for either of the main parties, and I never will. The Conservatives talked the talk. Read this. They didn't walk the walk. I think that Rwanda was a reasonable plan, although what I would say is just do not let these people into our country in the first place. Then you don't have to send them to Rwanda or spend billions of pounds in putting them up in nice hotels.
Well, Australia was the country that had the most effective sort of physical.
Exactly.
But it was pretty brutal though.
What they did.
Oh, they had to put them on Papua New Guinea or something.
Yeah, they just turned them away. I think. So I was going to mention Australia as an example. If we are very, very serious about controlling the borders specifically, Australia is a very good example, but it is brutal. Are we okay with sending?
Where did they put them? Was it Papua New Guinea?
I think it was part of Papua New Guinea, but they effectively said at the border, you are not coming here.
Yeah.
You are going back on that boat and going. And my worry is that, families and children, would you really? If I saw a child in a boat and we were telling them to turn away, I would say, no, that child's coming with me. I just couldn't do it.
That is a real stain on Australia's record, because many of the people in those camps committed suicide. Yes. The conditions were so disgusting. And I think, can we just remember at the heart of this, yes, there are some people that we don't want here, and we have to ascertain, who those people are. They're not being put up in the Ritz. That is important to mention. And they're human beings.
Yeah, but you know,
They're
I
human
saw
beings, and
the-
the
They are
world
being
is
put up in hotels
They are
whilst
being
there are
put-
veterans on our street at the same time.
And I agree that that is the wrong way round. And actually, Labour have just announced a plan to make sure there's no homelessness this winter. And the idea about the Tories talking the talk and doing absolutely nothing, I agree with you, Charlotte. Well, let's see with Labour, because this plan hasn't even been
Okay, but when you
yet.
say that it's a stain on Australia's reputation, I watched overnight in one of the election programmes. Malcolm Turnbull, who's a left-wing Australian politician, he never mentioned it was a stain. He said, actually, what the thing we've all misunderstood is left-wing parties, people, just because you're left-wing doesn't mean you don't have a lock on your front door.
Yeah.
Is what he said. And left-wing parties need to understand this issue, or they will all be voted out.
I agree with that,
And Trump's
Jeremy.
thing is he's going to actually deport millions of people.
I know, detainment camps potentially for Project 2025.
Yeah, but people have voted for it.
They have indeed, and I think your point is absolutely correct. I reckon Labour will be out in 4 years' time unless people feel better off very, very quickly.
Well, they can't
Because
be
it is
doing
the
with 500
breeding
people on a
ground.
Saturday.
Well,
It's the
I think it's
breeding
more
ground
about
for
the economy than it
nationalism.
is about immigration.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, we've got Brian in Newport. Hi, Brian.
Hi there.
It's not going away, this boats thing, is it?
No. What I would like is to offer, what in my opinion is a help to at least control some of the system of the migrants, and that is that we apply maritime law. We have such issues as the Plimsoll line, which stop boats being overloaded, and yet we see boats, once they get onto the water, people seem to wash their hands of the issue. But if a boat is overloaded with women and children and all that, that is breaking maritime law, and that the authorities, wherever it may be, should take action within that law.
Yeah, but, okay, so we see a boat that's overloaded, we then rescue the people on it. That's what's happening. What part of that don't you like?
Well, I think that these people, they say you can't rescue people who don't want to be rescued. You've got women and children on there who are on there out of desperation.
Yeah.
They want.
So you would. But
majority
that's
are
where we
men.
are, right? I mean, we are. You know, we're
not
hopefully a
that.
decent country.
Look,
we're trying to rescue people if they are in that kind of danger.
Yeah, but they're going 100 yards, 200 yards, 500 yards off the shore in the same danger, and we know it. And it's easier to get those boats. You get them and you drag them back to port,
France.
yeah, because they're breaking the law. They're breaking maritime law, putting people's lives at risk.
I
Not
know.
just the people on the boat, also the people who have to rescue them. And
But that
wherever
relies
they go-
on France wanting to import the problem that they're exporting to us. And that's not going to happen, I don't think. Is it? Or is it maybe the French can change their minds?
I think you're absolutely right about this, that actually the French themselves want this to be Britain's problem.
Of course.
And actually maybe part of that is to do with Brexit. Maybe it's that they want to prove that actually when we're not in the European Union, they won't listen to us. However, that doesn't mean we should rejoin the European Union. It means we should stand our ground and actually control our borders in the first place. Ultimately, we need France's cooperation, but if they don't want to cooperate
But that's
with us...
all of it. All of that is contradictory, what you just said. I mean, if we're not in the EU, we don't have France's cooperation.
Why should we bend at the knee for what they want?
Because
They're
we
trying
need
to-
them to do us a
Why
favour
should
here.
they?
Well, effectively what's happening is they're holding us for ransom.
Yeah.
With these,
Well, let's
with
say
these
that's
immigration
true. Yeah,
problems.
well-
So why should we have to bend at the knee to them and
Because
adopt
we're-
all of their
we've
laws,
stuffed ourselves.
all of their regulations,
they-
all of their economic regulations? Why do we have to bend at the
Okay,
knee?
all
Because
right.
they won't solve one problem.
Interesting.
We're a
It's taken us
small
back to
island.
Brexit.
We've totally isolated ourselves.
Maybe Labour in the end will say, look, the only way back is to rejoin the EU here. Thank you for your calls. I know we'll discuss it again, but later we'll ask if